Welcome back to the channel. Jose just dropped off his really original 1994 FD RX-7. And I mean, really original. It's got about 150,000 miles or so. Anyways, he wants to find out what the compression is, so we're gonna do a compression check on it and maybe just give it a good look over and see what else we can find for him. So let's get to it. This thing is pretty dirty under the hood and it's hurting my soul a little bit. So I'm gonna do a little bit of cleaning before I get started on disassembly for the compression check. And it gives it a little bit of time to cool off because he drove about 2 hours to get here. So it's a little bit too hot. I do want it warm for the compression check, but I don't need it scalding hot. All right, we got the engine bay a little bit cleaner. I'm feeling a little bit better about it now. It was pretty dirty before. It's not perfect, but it's better. And so now we can start by taking off this first intercooler piping to the throttle body to get that out of our way and start getting to the spark plugs so we can get the compression tester in there and check it out. Just kind of doing a little bit of basic inspection right now. And I noticed this, like most of them, is completely broken. You can see it's cracked. That's probably gonna fly off at any moment. So that's not good. This nut was missing right here for the throttle body, so you probably had a boost leak there. Hard to see, but the knock sensor is down here by the trailing spark plug. Looks like the end of it's kind of busted open. Oil level was good. Haven't seen any other missing or broken things yet, but still looking around. When you're doing a compression test, you don't want there to be any fuel or spark happening. So on an FD, you can pull the EGI 30 amp fuse out. That way when you're cranking it, there's no fuel or spark happening inside the motor. You pull the trailing plugs. Trailing starts with T, top. Leading starts with L, lower. You're gonna leave the lower plugs in and you're gonna pull the trailing plugs out. When you go to crank the car, you're gonna want the throttle to be wide open. And then the test goes while you're cranking. The meter bar fills all the way up and then it gives you the readout. Super simple. I went to take the trailing plugs off of the spark plugs, and the trailing boot on rotor 1 was not even attached. It was just loose. It came right off. So it wasn't actually probably getting any trailing spark on rotor number 1. For those of you that haven't seen a rotary compression tester before, this is the #1 source for the best compression testers, rotarycompressiontester.com. Hit up Steve and get yourself one of these. It's a great kit. You got a sensor, and this is an older version. There's an even newer sensor, and I know that he's been working on a Bluetooth version as well, so that would be super cool. So you basically thread this into the trailing plug hole, plug it in, turn it on, run your test, and then you can swap this to the other rotor housing and do it again. And you can get this super nice case that comes with it. Very nice kit, affordable price, and gives you the health of your engine. It's pretty cool. All right, so we got our sensor plugged into rotor housing 1. Our tester's ready to go. It's telling us to begin cranking. Okay, rotor housing #1. So those numbers are good. Gonna do one more test on rotor housing 1. All right, we're gonna do rotor housing 2 now. Okay, got the sensor swapped over to rotor housing 2. Also really good. And this engine is hot, so those are good numbers. We're gonna run another one. Good, consistent. 109, 107, 110. Seems like a pretty healthy motor. And the pulses sound strong too. Okay, so this is a problem right here. This is your charge relief valve, and the hose right there is broken, and also the vacuum hose is broken here. So this is going to dump all of your secondary boost, and your charge relief is gonna stay open. So you're not gonna get any secondary boost. I'll see if I have some parts to replace this. I definitely have vacuum line. I just don't know if I have a hose that will work for this one here. But that's cracked, and that's pretty normal because everything on this side of the engine just gets baked by the turbos. It gets really hot. But this valve here, this charge relief valve, during primary boost, it vents secondary boost back into your air box. So the secondary turbo spools, pre-spools while the primary turbo is going, but they don't want that boost pressure to be added into the intake stream, so it gets dumped back to the air box. But when you get into secondary boost mode, that valve closes so that the secondary boost can be added into the intake stream. It's a very important part of your sequential turbo system. This is what happens to rubber after 30 years of being around rotary engine exhaust heat. It's like a little puzzle. This stuff is hard. That's supposed to be rubber. Well, the more we get into this car, the more we find this is a broken check valve for your pressure tank. So you basically probably didn't have any secondary boost between this problem and the charge relief problem. So we're gonna replace the vacuum lines. I think I have some spare check valves, so I'll pop one in here. This car's gonna run like a champ. So this right here is for the EGR valve right there. That line also broke, so I'm gonna replace this one and this one. You know, these other two are actually still doing okay. They're not hard. so they may have been replaced before. But we're gonna get the EGR line replaced. That's a small component, so that's important. And then the charge relief is important for sequential twin turbo operation. We'll replace this vacuum line, check valve, and then the other vacuum line that goes to the pressure tank. And then hopefully everything's good to go. This headlight is possessed. It's been moving up and down by itself. I'm guessing the motor needs to be replaced or rebuilt, or maybe there's some wiring issues going on. A problem for another time. All right, we got those hoses and check valves replaced, and everything's now back together. It's looking good, a little bit cleaner. Hopefully it runs a lot better. And now we know that the compression is good at this point in time. So we're about to go for a test drive in Jose's car, make sure everything's good to go. Can't find my suction cup mount for my phone, so hopefully it's not too unstable. The car's been warming up, so let's see how it goes. Some sort of hissing sound under boost, so I'm guessing there's a boost leak somewhere. It's very small, so I'm guessing it's maybe a vacuum line or something. It sounds like a really small leak. I doubt you'll even be able to hear it, but turbos are working, so that's good, but the idle hasn't come down yet, so I don't know if the vacuum leak's causing the idle to be high or something. We'll see if it comes down a little more. Maybe the thermowax is just not fully closed yet. Car needs a lot of maintenance and repair. It's been kind of just been sitting a lot, so you know, all those vacuum lines are rubber. They're all crusty and crispy like the ones I replaced, so there's a good chance there's more broken ones. It's always a good idea to change the fuel pulsation dampener, you know, clean the injectors, replace the vacuum lines, check valves, all that stuff. It's pretty much mandatory maintenance at this point for any FD that hasn't had it yet. So, and he knows that, so we talked about it. He just wanted to make sure the engine compression was good before he dove into doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and I think it's good. So, just have to see what's next for this car. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure there is a vacuum leak in the rat's nest somewhere. I sprayed a little brake clean down around the rat's nest, and it kind of made it stumble a little bit. The idle's not super stable. You can see it's kind of bouncing around, and it's stumbling a little bit. So there's definitely something going on. You know, probably replacing all the vacuum lines will fix this. But that's a project for another day. This car is super original, still has the original Bose sound system, including the snake in the back. They call it the Bose snake, or the acoustic wave system. This car is pretty cool. It's a 94. 94s with tan interior. The only thing tan is the carpet and the seats. And then the buckets, or the bins, are all black with black door panels. It's a better look than the 93. That's why I switched out my door panels to black. But my bins are still tan, which is okay. I don't mind it. This has the glass moonroof, which is kind of a rare option. It's pretty neat to see. Still has the rear wiper. And this is what the Bose acoustic wave system looks like. It's a crazy huge piece that takes up a lot of space in the trunk. But if you ever wondered what those cutouts in your cargo lid were for, it was for this. Still has the original wheels. Tires are obviously not 30 years old. And pretty much everything under the hood is all stock. Stock exhaust, stock AST, which I recommend replacing also. It's not leaking, but it surely will at some point. Some 30-year maintenance is up on this car. Probably needs fuel filter, pulsation dampener, vacuum lines, all that stuff. This headlight motor needs something, either replacement or rebuilding. I think this paint could actually buff out really nice. It's in overall pretty good shape. It's a couple little dents in here and there, but I mean, nothing major. I mean, my car looked kind of similar to this when I got it, very hazy. And you know, you guys have seen it, it buffed out, super shiny. You can see the difference. I mean, when you buff out Montego Blue, it just changes the color entirely. It's so vibrant. I think, you know, a lot of people didn't like this color because it ended up fading. But this color is just, it's so nice when it's polished. So hopefully Jose has that in store for this car. I think this car could clean up and be a really nice all original example with just some basic maintenance work, you know, maybe 20 hours of work or something. Not a big deal on a car that's this old. Battery lid's like 60 bucks. I'll suggest that to him as well. Maybe pressure washing the engine bay would be awesome. You know, obviously I cleaned it a little bit already, so it looks much better than it did before. And it's running good, except for there's a vacuum leak somewhere.